Hi there. At some point or another, every person has probably worked for somebody who had less than stellar management skills. A new book called How to Not Suck as a Manager is based on a nationwide study of what employees find most unleader-like about their bosses and how to change it to improve their work lives. Dr. Aaron Groh is a local organizational development specialist and the author of the book. He's also the founder of the Workplace Sanity Group, hello, which helps businesses around the world to improve at-work experiences. It's great information for us as workers as well, right? Because we can learn things also about how to deal with people in the workplace.
Oh, sure. These behaviors, no doubt. Some managers have them, and unfortunately, some of our coworkers do too.
Yeah, exactly. So what drove you to write this book, if you were driven?
No, that's a fair assessment. I teach communication seminars as part of the regular work I do, and commonly that type of a seminar will have a section about what to do when you're working with a more challenging person. And inevitably, in almost every session, somebody will raise their hand and say, well, what if the challenging person is my boss, right? Exactly, and in every instance, the whole audience will come alive like, oh my goodness, I can tell you stories. Right. It seems like everybody has bad manager experiences. So I thought maybe we're onto something here. So I decided to do what people in the Northwest do in the Seattle area. We created a website.
Yes.
And we titled it HowToNotSuckAsAManager.com. And through the internet, we promoted it. We got people to submit those experiences. We were just looking for patterns.
Yeah.
Are there more common behaviors among those who are not so good at their job in managing? And sure enough, we found 5 that stood out, and those 5 became the foundation of the book.
Great. Well, let's talk about some of those. Which one do you think is the most common?
Well, actually, of the 5, they were there quite, well, in equal amounts.
Okay.
But we did find one that seemed to garner the most emotion, the most angst as they were talking about that. And that had to do with when there were situations where there's somebody on the team who's kind of distracting from the work that the team needed to get done. Maybe they're just being a bully, or they're coming to work late, or they're taking credit for things they didn't do on a regular basis. And an employee would go to the manager and say, this really needs to be addressed. But a manager wouldn't do that. I mean, the behavior by itself is frustrating, right?
Right.
When you got a manager who won't step in to take action to address it, even more frustrating. And the emotion, it was clear in every experience.
Well, we spend so much time with our coworkers, oftentimes more than we spend with our families. People work more. I read a survey that said that about 60% of people, maybe a little bit more, who leave their jobs, leave because of their immediate supervisor. That relationship is so important and can make or break your workplace. So what do you do? How do you approach a manager if you're a worker in an effective way?
Well, that is a challenge, and I'm not sure that would always be the best idea.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not like your other relationships.
Exactly. Sometimes it gets referred to as career suicide to do that.
All right. So much for the direct approach, people.
But to be sure, it won't get solved if it doesn't get addressed. And if we can create the type of rapport we have with the manager so maybe they can take that information in a more productive fashion, there might be hope. But again, I would counsel some very
careful doing.
Exactly.
So the book is more aimed at people who are managing to kind of reflect on their own skills and get better. If you could wave a magic wand and change a couple of things that all managers would improve on right away, what would they be?
Okay. Well, common courtesy. It seems that bad managers don't have that common courtesy in working with their team members. A simple please or thank you, even though it's not needed. I know we all have to be at work, but a simple thank you can go so far. I've seen cards, thank you notes written 10 years ago, still stuck on people's desktops.
It does mean
things like
something.
that. It does.
Yeah.
But also there's a common behavior that micromanagers have is to micromanage. And if they could get control over that through steps that we talk about in the book, again, the work world would be just so much more grateful. Because nothing says, I think you're not competent in your job quite like being micromanaged.
Right, like having somebody's hot garlic breath on your neck while you're trying to do whatever it is that you're doing.
Exactly.
And so for people who are stuck under a bad manager, is there anything that they can do productively? I mean, if you can't go and talk to the manager, What are your best coping mechanisms? Because these days it's a little harder to just say, I'm going to get another job, because that isn't always possible.
That is true, and I do address this actually because I do get this question a lot. We do have three options. We can do nothing and hope the situation changes, probably not the most productive strategy. We can work to make a rapport with our managers such that if there's an option or opportunity to share, here's what I'm feeling, here's what I think might help the team, that would be the best strategy. But in the end, if these things aren't going to work, it's just like anything else in life. We might need to remove ourselves from that situation.
It doesn't work. You know what number 4 is on an idea? This is a thin little book. It could go right under somebody's door at night. Who's to say who left it?
This could. That's true.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. More than I can say. How Not to Suck as a Manager is available in stores and online now. Doctor, I'm into this. Dr. Groh also has a blog about workplace sanity that we'll link you to on our website after the show. And it's cool when we can share these things. After the break, we're transported to Italy with a spectacular look at some Venetian-inspired dresses that you just might see in Seattle for a big gala this weekend. We'll be back after a brief break.